Hell's Angels begin to decorate their bodies with elaborate tattoos, a secret language of signs and symbols.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're examining 10 notorious gangs that are still active.
This gang took over my heart. I would attack even my own mother.
For this list, we'll be looking at the most violent and notorious gangs from around the world that are still operating as of 2022. We will also be including organized crime. Which of these gangs scares you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Notorious.
Their trademark weapon is deadly.
Trinitarios know how to work with machetes and fight with them. They will just cut your head and that's it.
Situated between Queens and the Bronx and lying in the middle of the East River is a notorious prison called Rikers Island. It was here in 1993 that the Dominican-American gang the Trinitarios was established. Two inmates, Leonidas Sierra and Julio Marin, formed the gang while serving time for homicide, and it became the first Latino gang to be started in New York City.
Started this group with the same name as the founding fathers of the Dominican Republic, the Trinitarios.
Known for their wielding of machetes, Trinitarios are heavily embedded in the illegal drug business. The gang rose to national prominence in June of 2018 when a large group of members chased and killed teenager Lisandro Guzman Feliz, falsely believing he was a member of a rival gang.
His dream was to be a detective since 5 years old.
Public Enemy Number 1. The California-based gang Public Enemy Number 1 was formed back in 1986, having emerged out of the state's hardcore punk culture.
They call themselves Public Enemy Number 1, or P9, and investigators warn this group, learning from the mistakes of other white supremacist gangs, are emerging as a public threat.
The gang is currently active throughout California, with their presence being heavily felt in the Orange County area of Los Angeles. The group is quite small, only consisting of a few hundred members, but that hasn't made them any less notorious. Public Enemy Number 1 partakes in the usual gang activity, like drug trafficking and burglary, but their main MO is identity theft.
How does it operate?
There's a lot of things that go on. There's drug distribution, murder for hire, furtherance of our political views.
The gang steals valuable personal information through their contacts inside various financial institutions. They also have close alliances with various white nationalist groups, including the Aryan Brotherhood.
You tell me a bit about the white Aryan resistance.
We're interested in one thing, and that's the race issue and the well-being of the white race, or at least the part of the white race that gives a damn.
Barrio Azteca. Also known as Los Aztecas, Barrio Azteca is a Mexican-American gang prominent in the American South. While it was formed in El Paso, Barrio Azteca is now spread throughout the states of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona.
Their hand signs is usually the 2 and the 1. Anything having to do with the 21 just to indicate the BA.
Unlike some other gangs on this list, Barrio Azteca also spans multiple countries, with a heavy presence in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. This location is paramount as the gang is heavily involved in the cross-border drug trade. With thousands of members, Barrio Azteca is a major player in the Mexican drug war and rivals the Sinaloa cartel. The gang is incredibly violent, having carried out numerous large-scale killings and even targeting U.S. consulates.
12 years after the murders of a U.S. consulate employee, Leslie Enriquez, her husband, Arthur Redelves, and the husband of another U.S. consulate employee, Jorge Salcedo Cisneros, the gunmen are now sentenced to life in prison.
The Irish Mob. Having been around since the late 1800s, the Irish mob has become a mainstay of American culture throughout the years. Being a popular subject of gangster films like On the Waterfront, Black Mass, and The Departed, many people have heard of the group and are aware of their illicit activities.
We made money any way there was. I mean, from stolen goods to extortion to drugs to gambling, loan sharking, anything like that.
While the mob has roots all across Ireland and the United States, it is most famously associated with the city of Boston. It's here where the Irish mob war of the 60s took place, and it's where both the Winter Hill Gang and famous crime boss Whitey Bulger were situated.
The war lasts from 1969 to 72. At first, it's Knee's gang who are on the receiving end, dodging Bulger's bullets in a deadly game of cat and mouse.
Bulger was convicted of crimes ranging from homicide to money laundering and was given 2 life sentences in 2013.
3 men have been indicted in the prison death of convicted gangster James Whitey Bulger.
The Crips. There's one major name in street gangs, and that's the Crips. Based largely in Southern California, the Crips are the lifelong rivals of the Bloods and are notable for their use of blue clothing.
Over the past 20 years alone in LA County, there's been over 15,000 gang-related deaths.
Like the Irish mob, the Crips have become mainstays in popular culture throughout the years and have been linked to many high-profile crimes. A founder, Stanley Williams, was sentenced to death. Member Tyquan Cox helped perpetrate a mass homicide in 1984, and members Orlando Anderson and Dwayne Davis remain the prime suspects in the killing of Tupac.
Shortly after 11 p.m., Kading says Anderson and his crew exacted their revenge.
With such notable publicity and membership as high as 35,000, the Crips are easily one of the most notorious gangs in America.
They were totally disconnected and disenfranchised. They're like a planet out of orbit.
Hell's Angels.
They've been described as a marauding cavalry, riding, raiding, and boasting that no police force can break up their motorcycle fraternity.
Founded back in 1948, the Hells Angels have grown to become one of the most notable motorcycle clubs in the world. Gangs of this variety, including the Hells Angels and the Mongols, have long been subjected to close scrutiny by law enforcement.
The 1% patch is the badge of honor, the mark of the outlaw who is proud not to be a part of the AMA's 99% of good bikers.
In fact, the Netherlands has banned the Hells Angels outright, and the United States Department of Justice believes that they are involved in organized crime. Regardless of their official status, the Hells Angels have been involved in many violent and noteworthy incidents throughout the years, including the killing of Meredith Hunter at the Altamont Free Concert in 1969.
Mick Jagger sings Sympathy for the Devil, then all hell breaks loose.
They may also have ties with organized crime in New York, including the famous Gambino and Genovese crime families. The Aryan Brotherhood. Dating back to the mid-60s and born out of San Quentin, the Aryan Brotherhood is perhaps the most well-known prison gang in American history.
I think the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas today is arguably the most violent white supremacist prison gang out there.
A white nationalist organization, the Aryan Brotherhood consists of violent neo-Nazis who partake in widespread criminal activity.
The Aryan Brotherhood remains an exclusive crew. Only the most cunning and ruthless convicts may enter the brand's privileged ranks.
They are perhaps most famous for conducting acts of prison violence. In fact, the FBI claimed in 1992 that a quarter of all prison killings came at the hands of the Aryan Brotherhood. It said that in order to join the gang, one must commit an assault or murder. But their activities certainly aren't limited to the penal system, and the Aryan Brotherhood is considered an extremely dangerous and prolific organization.
There's no out, and you really just have to come to the point where you're man enough to actually just take a stand on what you want to do with your future.
And what happens if they find you?
Well, that could be a pretty bad situation for everybody involved.
The Latin Kings. With membership nearing 50,000, the Latin Kings is one of the largest Hispanic and Latino gangs in the world.
A violent gang that turned the city into a war zone.
Like the Aryan Brotherhood, they operate both in and out of the prison system, and their spread reaches from North America to Europe. The Latin Kings started as a social movement back in the mid-50s to protect Latinos from violent racial discrimination, but it quickly devolved into a street gang.
Just took off like wildfire, and quite frankly, we weren't prepared for it.
Members follow an ideological religion called Kingism and have been involved in numerous crimes throughout the United States.
Gang violence, everything. I got shot right over here, right in this area right here. I got shot. People try to take me down. Nobody could take me down.
The founder of the gang's New York chapter, Luis Felipe, was found guilty of ordering hits from prison and sent to a supermax called ADX Florence, where he is serving time alongside terrorists. Yakuza. This term is not actually the name of the syndicate itself, but the title of its members, much like our use of the word gangster. The gang consists of many internal organizations, with the largest being Yamaguchi Gumi. As for the syndicate's name, the Yakuza call themselves Ninkyo Dantai, meaning chivalrous organizations. The police see it quite differently, and their title Boryokudan means violent groups.
表面に出ている数字っていうのはあくまでも公表数字。しかし水面下で暗躍している数字っていうのは1万から2万違うと思います。
Easily Japan's most famous and notorious crime syndicate, Yakuza have long enjoyed prominence in pop culture, featuring heavily in the likes of video games and film. It was founded back in the 17th century and is about 12,000 members strong, which is a far cry from the organization's heyday in the 1960s.
俺は偉いんだみたいな感じで歩いてたんですけど、今は全然怖いと思ってません。
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. The Sicilian Mafia. Hailing from the Italian island of Sicily, the Sicilian Mafia is perhaps the most famous organized crime syndicate in the entire world.
Sicilians have been emigrating to America for 100 years. But many of their descendants kept strong links with their homeland.
The gang is still active in western Sicily and is composed of over 5,000 members. The mafia earns money through a wide variety of illicit activities, including, but certainly not limited to, protection rackets, smuggling, and contract rigging. The Sicilian Mafia is also widely noted for its intimidation tactics, and it has garnered a fierce reputation for being brutally violent and confrontational.
The Sicilian Mafia always claimed they adhered to a code of honor, murdering only when necessary, and avoiding the killing of innocents, women and children. But Reina shunned these old guard rules.
Between the original Sicilian iteration and its popular American offshoot, the Mafia is the final name in notorious gangs.
There was a lot of friction I found between the American Mafia and the Sicilians, even though they were married up into one family.